So the Ejlri is basically a nonprofit organization that is led by Rhode Island residents who initially came together to ban schools being built on toxic sites. Over the past several years, what has happened? Over the past several years, what has happened is basically that it's still been a group of committed resident community members who really care about the environments where we live, work, and play. Since then, we worked on many different campaigns like weatherizations of homes, tidewater cleanups, our green drive bus, which runs on veggie oil, or teaching about diesel production. And now stuff around like the LNG campaign that Sherry got to talk to you just now, and our Just Transition and Clean Power Plan, which Sina would get to talk more about.
So within this LNG campaign, one of our next steps in trying to stop them from building this or to make sure nothing gets worse is having a Just Transition Assembly or a Just Transition, which is a framework for governance for how we relate to the earth, how we produce and consume, for reparations within the US and the global south, for how work is defined and valued, and for people to relate to each other. For how people to relate to each other. It's like a step towards a new economy for us frontline communities who are being very neglected and exploited to capitalism and other systems of oppression. Because at the end of the day, we're not talking about like a gentle capitalism. Like, we're talking about these big real issues that we are facing and living here, and there is no earth too. So this is a step of a just transition. Which will be happening here in Providence, August 25th to the 27th. It is a big national event that we are also hosting with the Grassroots Global Justice Alliance.
Reasons why we talk about just transitions and why we see the importance of a just transition. I'm sorry.
Technical difficulties.
Sorry, my notes disappeared off my phone. Alright, so reasons why we talk about just transition and why we think it's important. Also, with what Sina said, we are hosting a Just Transition Assembly, and it's going to be really focused around youth work and how important youth development empowerment it is around this work, especially since they face a lot of systems of oppression by not being able to choose where they get to live, eat, and work. But especially why we're talking about just transition in Providence and why we see it's important is looking at the difference between the Port of Providence and India Point Park, and looking at Julian talked about it earlier about waterfront access and what each community has access to. Why is it that on one side of the bay the community has waterfront access where kids can actually play in the park, and on the opposite side of the same bay we're restricted to even access the waterfront, nor would we want to, because it's such a toxic area that it's not even healthy for us to be there. And even with that, I've heard over the talk of this panel a lot of the efforts that go into preparing emergency preparedness for possible situations if bad things were to happen in the port, to how much goes into updating it every 5 years and so. I don't understand how is it that if we can understand that the Port of Providence is such big of an issue and has so many complications around people being able it being a terrorist site, or I think within one of the danger zones it's up to 900,000 people within that danger zone. Why is it that we're not putting the same amount of effort into removing these things from our community if we can see that it has such an effect? It's like if we keep using this the Port of Providence in such a destructive manner, we're gonna have to constantly keep putting a Band-Aid on wounds when instead of just getting rid of the gun before it even shoots. With the just transition, there's things called Our Power Plan and Clean Power Plan, which Sina will talk more about.
So we all know that Obama and the EPA announced the Clean Power Plan, which is billing it as a historical step in reducing carbon pollution from power plants. Along with that, the Our Power campaign or the Our Power Plan is a powerful force to stop catastrophic climate change, because we all know the United States has the greatest historical responsibility for greenhouse gas emissions, as well as the largest per capita emissions footprint. So within the Our Power campaign, it's our job, like the frontline communities, to enforce local and national governments to keep their word with this Clean Power Plan and make sure the community is involved with those decisions that they are making within these communities who are facing these issues.
All right, so that's basically it for us, letting you know what's going on with the organization and what we're thinking of next steps based off of the stuff that we heard folks say of like what's in the Port of Providence or just like in climate change in general. We do want to open up the room for you guys to get to ask folks questions around any questions that you had, comments or anything. I'm sure panelists are going to stick around a little while to answer questions.